Dollar Will, and this is another episode of 1804 History. And before I start, hit like, comment, subscribe to the channel, The 1804 Show, Chapter 2. Now let's get it. So tonight, I'm back with another episode. We're going to be talking about the Black Mafia that was stationed in Philadephia, Pennsylvania, back in the 1960s, and it went on all the way to the 1980s. And I don't want to come off disrespectful or condescending and this and that, but I just try and tell a story. I ain't trying to offend nobody because people take stuff like that seriously. But as a community, we must know our past so we can learn for our future. And this has really been very hard research and really hard to channel, especially this particular topic, because, we glorify and romanticize violence in our culture. We be fascinated with drug dealers, gang members, murderers, and this and that. And I really hate that we are like that because our people done great things. All of us wasn't gang members. All of us wasn't violent enforcers. A lot of us were builders. A lot of us were entrepreneurs. A lot of us were freedom fighters. And it just upsets me when people tries to negate the great people, the good civil rights activists and stuff like that, and glorify these villains and these criminals and stuff like that. And it's not really snitching because it's well documented and stuff. So, but these two men are dead who led the organization pretty much. And those two men was by the name of Sam R. Christian and Ron Harvey. And it's crazy because these were the two men that you didn't want to speak of, and you didn't want them to know that you was talking about them because they was feared, very psychotic, and you didn't want them to be mad at you, basically. And they just, started off small by ripping off local crap dealers and selling numbers and selling narcotics on the side or whatever. And then they decided to join the Nation of Islam, and they call their mosque the Hood Mosque of Temple 12, and just use that organization as a cover up to commit crimes and from violence, intimidation, racketeering, extortion, the whole nine. And just wanted to make a statement and wanted to show people that they weren't playing and they were serious. And they gave you a couple chances until they took your life and stuff like that. And it just was, I ain't gonna lie, it was just really hard for me to sit there and actually listen and watch these documentaries on this because, again, this is true stories, and a lot of people were affected by these two individuals and many others. And we just have to come to a some type of empath empathic conclusion that these people hurt people. And again, not to disrespect the Nation of Islam, because I try to look at it from both sides. That the Nation of Islam at that time, it was a safe haven for young black people, especially black men who was in prison, who were former drug addicts, and they went there to get detox, to get re-educated, to become men, because it was harder, basically being, during the segregation era and stuff like that. It was really hard for a lot of them to find manhood, to find some type of identity with themselves, because it was just really hard for them to gain some type of solace and stuff. So the Nation of Islam provided that, provided independentship, self-restraint, self-entitlement, self-everything to really build you up. But at the same time, it was members that was coming from jail, that was former gang members and former drug pushers and violent people that didn't leave all that stuff behind them. And rumor has it that one of the reasons why Malcolm X had left the Nation of Islam, because of the fact that he was all the way in there, and this was like a lot of people wasn't um, putting their past behind them, shall I say. So it just was a whole lot of things that happened in that organization, which I'm not going to shit on the Nation of Islam, but I would shit on particular bad deeds, because there was a whole lot of criminal element in that organization. But because they was bringing in millions of dollars and building schools, building jobs, and creating generational wealth, a lot of members, close to 10,000 and 200 members of the Black Mafia alone, they turned the other cheek because they was getting rich, and would just do things like they ran up on this particular furniture store. It was called Dubai. Sorry, I'm butchering the name, but they ran up on this furniture store that hasn't been robbed in over 50 years, because the owner of the furniture store failed to pay a sales tax. And here's the thing, like, we have to quit trying to unite all black people, because you can't unite all black people, because just because they have the same skin color as you doesn't mean that they are brother or a sister or a son or daughter. We fall victim to that color only thing, instead of looking at the character of a person, the character of a man, character of a woman, character of a child. And a lot of us get fucked up by that, because we lose that sight of integrity. And these are the people that was committing heinous acts in the community, because of the fact that a lot of them didn't do that to their counterparts, to white counterparts like that. They did that to their own people. Now, if you didn't pay up, usually you will get beat up. You will be set ablaze from yourself, or your business will be firebombed, will be um, what's that called? Vandalized. It just was like a lot of stuff that was happening, because They felt like, well, we gonna grant you protection, and if you don't accept it, we gonna make you accept it, and we gonna charge you weekly. And just the fact that they would just, take a lot of young black business owners and make them pay for protection that they didn't ask for. But it was just a sign of extortion and stuff, and a lot of people who were just in the mob, or especially like the white mob or like the Italian mob, Mafia and shit, was that they had a limit on exterminating women and children. They had rules, they had a structure, and they would like tell people that, oh, you can't take that person out, or you can't kill that person unless I give you the green light to do that. But these individuals didn't care. They didn't have no type of moral compass, that they would just take out anybody, including men, women, and children. And for the first example was the Gaddafi murders that occurred back in 1973, January to be exact, by the name of Khalis, um, by the name of Abdul Khalis, who was responsible for bringing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Islam. Um, he had like wrote a letter to all the mosques, including the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and told him and pretty much denounced him. Just told him that, oh, you a fake, you a hypocrite, you this, you that, and I don't stand with you. And I'm removing myself from your branch and starting my own thing. Because Malcolm was right and this and that. So that led to a whole lot of people being upset. And a lot of people back in them days that you can have your own opinion about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad without paying with your life. So a two-car hit squad led by Ron Harvey was on their way to Washington, D.C. to teach him a lesson. But luckily he wasn't home. But the unfortunate thing about it was his wife and their children from ages a week old to 3 years old were shot, were tied up, was bound, and the little kids were strangled and drowned into the bathtub. Even the killers at the scene was just like, "Hey man, you going way too far," and this and that. And he was like, "The babies had to die. They carried the seed of the hypocrite." So this was the most violent crime scene that you will ever witness. Because even one of the officers who was at the scene went to the bathroom and washed his hands, and he thought he was looking at a doll, but he was looking at one of the dead babies, the week-old baby. And it's just tough to hear about that. And at that time, it was the worst mass murder in DC history. Like they had no type of conscience. Their job was to inflict pain, afflict just because I don't know anybody who would do something like that until I covered that. And it just, I don't really understand it because it's like, first of all, you talking about someone who's a hypocrite, but yet you over here killing babies, killing women, And we ain't talking about shooting them one time, but we talking about shooting them multiple times in the head while they unable to defend themselves. So who's really the hypocrite here? Who's really the coward here? And that's just really what's upsetting about this is that it could have been prevented. No letter of disagreement should have made you do something horrific like that. It's just unbearable and unconstitutional. And I'm finna go on a tangent here. Excuse me. I hope no one be upset about it. But it's just, we come from people who went through a whole lot during slavery. And not all of us were slaves, but a select few of our people that were slaves, they was tortured, they was brutalized, and they was subjugated. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the fact that we come from people who experience the worst type of trauma, but yet we inflict that type of trauma, that same type of trauma into our communities on a daily basis. It's people that see evil, that see um, the wrong things, and they turn a blind eye because they scared, or they just sit back and just allow particular injustices to happen. That's why I don't respect those type of people because they just sit back and allow things to happen. You, as worse as the person that's committing these crimes, because we as a people have a right to speak up for ourselves and to patrol our communities, to tell our particular brothers and sisters is that if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And you have to leave. But a lot of people turned a blind eye because of fear, because they was committing all these crimes and that they would get out. And the charges wouldn't stick because of the fact that they were scared to testify against these people. And I understand that a lot of people be afraid, but it just comes a time, it's like things is gonna be the same unless somebody do something about it. Someone step up, someone be a hero. And a few people have stepped up during that time, and a lot of people were found dead. But it's crazy. Because as a kid, watching Meteor Man with Robert Townsend, it's crazy because, like, I would find a movie corny as a kid, and I was like, man, this is corny and stuff like that. But as an adult, Meteor Man really was deep when you actually sit back and think about it. When he actually became a superhero, and then everybody that he saved and everybody that he protected, they all voted on him to leave. They wanted him out the neighborhood because he was bringing all this heat. And then he was like, "You don't have to vote. I go." How things is supposed to change if we refuse to do anything about it? If you sit back and watch things happen, and nothing gonna change. And that's exactly what's happening because the movie State Property was like the blueprint to how the Black Mafia operated. And you either get down or lay down. And a lot of people had got down because they didn't want to lay down. But it's just at the same time, it's like you're doing this to your own people. You're not doing this to the people that's in the suburbs or the people that you consider like that's not part of your team or your alliance, but you're doing it to your own people. And when people does things to their own people, we're supposed to be together. We're supposed to be one another or walk on one accord. But it just these people just create false tales and false promises and broken promises amongst our brethren and our brothers and sisters. It's just a lot that happens. But these were criminals. These was very, very, and pretty much terrorists and stuff. And and I wanted to do like a separate video with this too. So it's gonna be like a part two series and stuff. I don't want to reveal everything, but Sam Christian and Ron Harvey and Robert Mims, they was nobody to play with. But at the same time, it's like I ask people all the time, because everybody wants to be a gangster, everybody wants to be a thug, everybody wants to be a killer, but everybody can't be a gangster, everybody can't be a thug, and everybody can't be a killer. Sometimes it's just best for you to just go to school, stay out the way, because at the end of the day, we glorify the wrong things and the wrong people. And yes, I'm guilty of watching it on TV because it's entertainment, but I keep it as entertainment. I never wanted to pick up a gun because I saw actors and I saw rappers do it. I picked up a gun to protect myself. If anything, I ain't never wanted to be no thug or no criminal. I wanted to do things the right way. I had enough of that in my family. I come from a lot of men in my family who were um some serious dudes. And regardless of what people think and may say about me, I have broke all the generational curses. I worked at the same job for almost 14 years with benefits, 401k, letters of recommendation, being the youngest in my family of men to start their own company, to start their own business. I'm an entrepreneur. Never been locked up, never been in jail, none of that. Never stood in front of a judge. If anything, I'm the example of black excellence and black success. I just ain't got the money behind me, but one day I will. I just got to keep going, stay focused, but we just have to stop glorifying the wrong things. And East Man right here was a plague into the community from the 60s all the way to the mid 70s, and it was able to go undetected by law enforcement for close to 2 decades. And it's unfortunate, but I'm going to be breaking down a lot in part two of all of this because we really need to just get the message across to these young kids that the streets is a waste of time. You can make it by having a brain. You don't have to use your emotions. Use your mind because your mind is always going to win. Your mind will always prevail against emotions. Take the E out of emotions and put emotions, you know? And that's what I did. I took my mind and I put it into motion and created such a positive, loving platform for my people and many others. And but I just wanted to thank everybody who tuned in. Hopefully you guys got enough information for this first part series, and I'm finna go into the second worst thing that they done in part two. But Again, hit like, comment, subscribe to the channel, the 1804 Show, Chapter 2, and have a good night. Oh, yeah, if you want to donate to the Cash App, $, the 1804 Show. And again, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.